If I'm going to include anything specifically, I did learn of a study on Ceylon cinnamon. Another thing that can be very beneficial in thyroid health is Ceylon, because Ceylon cinnamon actually has a compound, I believe it's called cinema out, but this compound actually boosts immune metabolism and can restore your hormone levels to youthful hormone levels. Like, so, let's say you're 60, 65, if you just not much, maybe a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon today, sprinkled, but sprinkle it on anything, right? And you could actually help your body restore itself to the hormone levels you were at 14, right? So Ceylon cinnamon definitely is something you want to use in your daily meals, and any way you can. I try to include it a lot. There's also a lot of other benefits with cinnamon, but that's one specific for thyroid health. But yeah, that's I think in general, you want to crowd out animal foods, increase your consumption of foods rich in anti-inflammatory potential.
Are some of these autoimmune conditions, including Hashimoto's and the other one that you mentioned that I forgot the name of, are some of these related to a gluten intolerance in certain people? Should some who are dealing with hypothyroid, particularly if it's autoimmune, should they be considering getting off of gluten?
The only thing I would think would be very specific to its effect on the hypothyroidism is if you have a allergy that triggers your immune system. So celiac disease is actually very uncommon. Only about 1% of the population having celiac disease, which is like a severe gluten allergy. However, it doesn't hurt to exclude it, and see how you feel. But there aren't studies that really show that, gluten is going to, cause problems with the thyroid gland. So I wouldn't say that it's connected directly. It's definitely two different
unless you have a particular particular sensitivity to it. My wife's actually walked this journey. I didn't want to make the interview all about my family, but she was diagnosed with the Hashimoto's, cut the gluten. She's on the turmeric, the iodine. Some people might read in counsels on diet and foods, like, some of the spices and cinnamon, opt for the turmeric instead. So she's taken some of these very steps. And I was literally just at the store a couple hours before going live. She's like, honey, can you get me more of the blueberries? So more of those flavonoids and antioxidants, and she's doing well. She's really, that's really, I think, what a lot of our listeners want to hear. Can you actually reverse this? Can you've given the dietary prescription, and do you see in the people that you work with, your patients, your clients, do you see reversal of this? And certainly we know there's prevention. You've already shown that in the charts. But what about those who are in the trenches under the burden of this? How is there's hope here, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yep. So we have had patients who had, low functioning or hypothyroidism, subclinical even, even to the point where they were on or a consideration for starting medications. Synthroid, thyroid medication, basically is where you're at the point now where you have to take thyroid medications to replace the thyroid that's not being made by the gland. But even at this point, most people would say, well, it's too late. You really can't reverse it. But we've seen it. People who are diagnosed and started on medications and come off of it. So
that's awesome. Mm-hmm. How about soy, Louis? Is soy harmful to the thyroid?
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of misconception with soy. A lot of people say, well, you can't eat soy when you're have thyroid issues. The reason why soy is picked on is really because soy can, if you're already on thyroid replacement medications, soy can, and you're eating soy or at the same time as you're taking your medications, it can interfere with the absorption of the medication. But guess what? That's true of all foods, right? So in general, we tell patients not to eat anything while they're taking their thyroid medications. So just like soy can mess you up if you're taking medications, any food can. So, but no, generally there's no problem with taking soy products into your diet, as long as if you're on medications, as long as if you're taking them within hours of taking your thyroid medication, you're fine.